Gentlemen.
What up? What up?
What's cracking?
What's going on?
How's everybody?
Good evening.
Fairly decent, good brother.
Yeah. All is well. Welcome, brother Khalid Scott, for the second time on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you with your theater voice. Every time you open your mouth, it's like Avery Brooks or somebody talking, you know. Like he grew, hey man, like he grew.
I just want to hear him say, "You have deliberately disobeyed me."
I want to hear him say, "What is that? The power of the whatever has been stripped away."
Oh, from Black Panther
has been stripped away.
I don't know. Khalid sound more like Dennis Haysbert from the Allstate commercial.
No,
good hand with safe driver.
No, I got more of a James Earl Jones vibe from him. You know, James Earl Jones vibe from him.
Oh my God, y'all so great for the ego. I'm telling you.
So everybody's doing all right. Robert, that's quite an electric shirt you have on.
See, you know,
that AAA batteries or AA batteries.
That's exactly what it is.
But Sean, Robert does that because our producers tell us that when Robert and I open our buttons, the ratings go up.
Oh, is that right?
That's it. But you chose to wear a sweater tonight.
Because you wearing a sweater.
Yeah, maybe you didn't get that memo. Maybe you didn't get the memo.
You know, I made a last 13th hour.
So let me move this button down one.
So I'm supposed to just have the apron on tonight? Do I need to come out of and just do the apron?
The naked chef. The naked chef, man.
Send me out to the closet. He might come back with anything on. He might come back suited and booted, or you know.
Did you work out today, Mel? You have a short sleeve shirt on. Oh, okay.
I'm off my grind, man. Honestly, like I'm a little pudgy right now, and not feeling it. So yeah,
I gained 10 pounds, man, recently.
You gained?
Am I the only one that this kind of weather, man, puts me in such a funk?
Yeah,
I find it hard to really do anything. Like I didn't even attempt to leave yesterday. You know, the only reason that I left today is because I had to pick up a package. Otherwise, I would not have left today. But when I do get moving, then I feel rejuvenated. So you know, I'm out. I'm cleaning the neighbors' cars and, you know, that kind of thing. But it's getting me out that is the challenge, you know. Hey, man,
cleaning the neighbors' cars.
Before we move along, man, I want to thank everybody that's tuning in with us and has been faithful to us. Hey, TJ, Rhonda Shaw, I see you. Wendy Pugh from my high school. Thank you all for supporting us. We're asking that you guys copy the URL and paste it into your social media. Don't just share it. Copy the link and paste it into your social media. It increases the algorithm and helps our numbers. So if I don't remember to do that, somebody about 30 minutes in remind me to make that announcement again. But hey, man, we'd be kind of remiss, man, if we didn't start the show. We probably need to do an entire show, especially since we have the presence of Khalid here. But I really want to talk about, man, this mental health and suicide and how those things are relating. You know, we were all upset to hear about Chesley Chris this week, and you know, all of the potential that she had shown and all of the you know, the corner she had already turned in her young life. And you know, everybody was just, I think, championing her and just looking forward to more great things from her. And it proves that you never know what somebody is carrying. You know, it put me in a lot of different spaces, and one of those I like to get to before we're done is the weight of celebrity. You know, how we see the weight of celebrity as well. But Khalid, I'd love to hear from you, just first and foremost, man, about you know, the tragedy of mental health and how it relates to suicide with people of color, and and what you might share about it with your, professional opinion as well.
Right. And again, gentlemen, my brothers, thank you for having me back on, bringing me back to your home. And it's always a pleasure. And since I've been on your show, wow, I think I've done about 30 Zoom forums regarding Black men or Black people and mental health and suicide. So I feel like I'm like the true expert in the room with this, because not only am I dealing with it, personally, because I had a mentee who committed suicide on his 33rd birthday, November 1st of 2020, but I'm also dealing with it at work. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2021, so just 2 months ago, I had seven black men telephone me, DM me, text me, asking for my help. When I called them back, each one of them said they were thinking about suicide. So I want you to take that in. 7 black men.
And let me ask you this, Khalid. I could be wrong. That's common. But wasn't there a time when black men were not really considered a demographic that committed suicide? Dave Chappelle has such a great opening to one of his specials when he talks about Anthony Bourdain and how he had this great life and he committed suicide. And he tells the story of a guy he grew up with who had all these hurdles and tragedies and misfortunes, and how with all that, it never occurred to him to commit suicide.
Right.
So it seems like it is more of a growing dilemma with us.
Well, not that it's a growing dilemma, it's now being talked about.
So you think the numbers, you don't think the stories reflected the true numbers as we were growing up?
Absolutely. But we didn't talk about it.
Mm.
We didn't talk about it. Now we feel free to talk about, because I'm telling you, I'm in private practice right now. And if you ask any clinician who's in private practice, we are now booked solid. The pandemic opened up a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And now everybody, it's in vogue to be in therapy right now. And it's fantastic.
Well, yeah, definitely in vogue to be in therapy, because I'm looking for one myself. But the aspect of it, like when I think about mental therapy and that thing, there's nothing necessarily that I feel urgently that I'm trying to fix as much as I'm trying to maintain. And then if I discover things that I need to fix along the journey, then I'm willing to dive in there and fix them. But I don't feel like my life or my health is in jeopardy right now, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So while you say it's in vogue, and I agree, it's in vogue to be in therapy. For some, it's just a practice, whereas for others, it's urgent, like when your phone rings.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, when I asked all 7 men, why the phone call? Tell me what's going on in your life to make you want to end your life. All 7 men said, my wife.
I knew you were about to say that. I just knew it. Let me go back on mute. Sorry.
So when they say my wife, was it the wife's expectations? Was it being in a relationship that simply they were unhappy in? Was the wife allegedly creating a pressure that they couldn't meet? How specifically did they say it was the wife?
A through Z and all of the above. So I had one gentleman call me because his wife slept with his buddy. Okay. I had one who called me because they were having financial troubles because of the pandemic. He lost his job. I had another one who had cheated on his wife multiple times, and she had just had her feel of it. And she was like, well, I'm about to leave you and take our kids and go away. So it was 7 different reasons why, but I just found it amazing that, and also let me throw this out. In my private practice, I mostly have married couples who I'm providing therapy to. So, and in my personal life, I have 11 friends who are going through divorces. So it's something about this thing about relationships and mental health that are tied together now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think because we look for someone else to fulfill us. We look to someone else to say that we matter. And the minute you become vulnerable to another human being, it puts you on a trajectory of a spiraling downfall, because you have to be whole yourself.
Well, definitely, we know that divorce numbers increased during the pandemic, but that wasn't a rocket science, rocket science thing. It's a proximity thing. It's there's no longer a buffer, between you and your mate. Some relationships last as long as they do because there's a buffer. Maybe there's a child at home, and then things change when that child leaves for college, and it's just now you're empty nesters and you have to deal with just each other's energy, and you don't, your entire day in life isn't about caring for that child, that common thing that you all have. And then you discover when the child is no longer in the house, you don't have as much in common as you had before. But I also think that some of that has to do with how you choose to approach it, because I've seen some people become empty nesters, and they go, well, now we have this great chance to learn each other again. We have this great chance to get to know each other again. So I think it's also how you utilize the framework in your own mind. But I also want to say, and I want your input. And guys, I feel like this is just me and Khalid talking. So please, y'all jump in here.
Well,
except for you, Robert. Except for Robert.
You cut me off before, Robert. There was a meme that I saw recently, and it basically showed Will Smith, Tyrese, and Kanye.
Yes.
And how these were three notable African American men that had been transparent about their mental state, and the whole nation mocked them.
Yes.
Whole nation mocked them. And then, we wonder why it is men are so covetous of that space. Robert, would you like to share something?
Thank you for asking me. You're saying obviously some great stuff, Khalid, with the fact that men are affected by that. There's definitely a pandemic around divorce. For those of us who have been married, the fact that it's coming to an end, or it's not flourishing in the directions that we want. Pandemic, as we know, is caused that, because now people don't have an outlet. They're at home all the time.
Right.
And before we could go to work and get away from our spouses for the time period, but now we're seeing that people are they're just not working out because of that. What do you see, or what tips do you have that would help us to be able to, even those of us like me that are no longer married, to be able to navigate relationships so that we can have a better outcome?
Right. Okay. So when I'm meeting with married couples, I tell them on the first session, well, typically a wife calls me saying, Mr. Scott, Dr. Scott, me and my husband need therapy because A, B, C, and D, correct? So I tell them, I need your husband to call me first before I even set up the appointment, because I need to know if he's just as invested in doing the therapy like you are. And I need to know he's not being blackmailed to participate in the therapy, right? So then the husband will call, or they'll do a three-way call, and then we'll go ahead and have the first session. And on the first session, I tell both of them, both of you are at fault. Because what we won't do is this: we won't have a victim and a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as one person feels like the villain, they'll never be in response like they need to. They won't be energetic. They won't be. They won't take ownership, because they'll feel like I need to defend myself. So then I'll get the wife, say if it was because of infidelity, the wife will like, well, Mr. Scott or Dr. Scott, I didn't make my husband cheat. I said, if you aren't the reason why your husband left out the door to find love and love and lust, then you let him come back after he found love and lost. And after 5 times of your husband cheating on you, why are you sticking around? So either way, it's a deficit going on. So that's why it's both your faults. Now let's go ahead and start doing this work. And so when you put people on the same playing field, and they both feeling like you, the therapist, are being unbiased, because most men think if they come to therapy with a male therapist,
right,
going to take my side because he's like me.
Right.
Absolutely not. Because see, for me, I want relationships to win. Even though I'm divorced, I want them to win. I want to, like I said last time, I want to keep them off the 30th floor of the Daily Center.
Sure.
You know, it's a divorce court for those who don't know. So you go in with this type of setting a tone like that, only good things can come. And so far, I've only lost one couple who end up getting a divorce because he had a child outside the marriage.
Great. Thank you for that.
Tell people you got to love you. You got to have a love affair with yourself. Your mate should complement your life, not fill any voids. And once you about that mentality.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, and great topic. I think we need to, if the producers can, put the hotline for suicide prevention on just as a public service. Yeah, because there's some people that are past the therapy point and might be on their way to that point of no return, and we just want to make sure you can get help and there is help available to you.
Thanks to Woody for last week sharing that information with us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things I was going to ask or say is with the pandemic, I know that probably increased the number of people coming to you, but also, do you think from a societal standpoint, if you're a man, you're looked at as this masculine figure that has to carry the load? And then on a personal standpoint, you're looked at as this man that needs to be the head of household and take over and do the things that he needs to do. So you have both sides coming at you. If you have a corporate job, you have an extremely demanding position that's coming at you as well. So you got 3 walls closing in on you and you only have a 4th one left and you're running toward that one, but the other 3 are closing in on you. What do you say to somebody that comes to you with that? Kind of what's the way you turn that around for them?
I have mostly, other than my married couples, I have mostly men who are my clients. And what I tell them is, this is your safe space to be very vulnerable. If you have an issue with being vulnerable, then you need to leave my practice, because I cannot help you. I cannot help navigate this for you if you don't be transparent and understand that there's a strength in being vulnerable. Because what happens is when you trust me enough to be vulnerable and really share the deep, dark things that's going on, then we can go ahead and hit that cortex of what's all that's troubling you, and then we can get you to the place you need to be. But if you coming up in here acting machismo, you need to walk out the door. I can't do nothing for you then.
Yeah. One of the things too, I think people find is that strong people don't think that strong people go through things and that they're hurt and that they have issues that they can't quite figure out in their mind. And that's speaking from personal experience. I know. And yes, we put on a great, and I don't want to blame social media, but social media has contributed to the living my best life lie that people like to portray every day when they're going through hell in real life, and become actors and actresses online and talking about how great things are. And anybody can talk about this. I don't want to drill Khalid for every question, but what do you guys think about that and how that impacts it?
I think it definitely does, because if you're the kind who feels in competition with those that you see, and you're not conscious of the fact that people are only showing you what they want you to see, you start to think that this is really the structure of this person's life. And something else that you guys said, you mentioned strong people, and I don't think it's just strong people.
No,
celebrated people, anybody that's notable in any way, that has people that revere them or people that look up to them, somehow they become dehumanized. and I say this with all humility, I've experienced it from my music. I'm sure Mel has experienced it from his activity on TV. What I have, what I've learned is, that people need people that they can champion, and you don't have to be a superstar. You just need to be someone whose life can take them away from their day to day. Like I have done shows and signed autographs and not know where I was going to be living in 30 days. And I had to learn that in that moment, I have to give those people that person because they need that person. They're championing that person as a way of fueling themselves.
Oh yeah, I've done events where I know we've lost, but I know it's like a disaster, and I still have to keep a smile and keep shaking hands and smiling about it and keep going. And I'm inside figuring out like, how am I going to pay this bill?
Absolutely,
you know, I'm about to go into negative on this and things like that. And it's very, very interesting how random people can be about the things that truly affect us. And I remember this personally. One of my best friends had passed away just unexpectedly from type 2 diabetes, which he never knew he had. So he literally passed out, went into a diabetic coma, and laid in his apartment for 3 days before they found him. And we'd had the funeral, and we weren't together, but we were dating. We were sort of dating, and I had kind of gone off because I was really trying to deal with it. It was tough. And I'm talking to her, and she's like, well, you just need to get over it. You got to get past this now. And I'm like, what the? I'm like going off in my head, like, I can't believe she just said this. Because if it were your friend, you'd be bawling and rolling and want to jump into the grave with her and acting a fool. And you would. But now I need to just get over it all of a sudden. And I mean, that had a huge effect on us from that point on, because it was like I ended anything that was going on. That pretty much was the end of it.
It's like the date I told you about where I went on, and every time I told the young lady how I felt about something, she would say, no, you allowed it to make you feel.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm never dating somebody who can't validate or affirm my feelings. Yeah. It has to be this, this journey or this thing. No, this is how I feel, period. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. That's a tough thing. Glenn, when you said that, it just made me think about, the situation that occurred when my sister passed away unexpectedly. And I got, certainly there was, and this was my oldest sister, depression set in and all of that. And I thought that, the mate that I had at the time would support me through that process. And, I had suicidal thoughts as well. And they were like you just said, get over. Why you still moaning, this morning, this whole, process. So it really, I just want to drive that home, that it's really important for us as men to be able to talk about it or have a safe space that we can talk about it. If not with our partners, because they're not there, we need to have brothers like here that we're with to be able to call and say, hey, listen, I'm struggling, with this. Can you just hear me? Can I just lay on your couch for a minute? And that is, I think,
figuratively.
Exactly. I mean, it's really that. I mean, Sean and I, I've been over your crib and we've kicked it and talked about some intimate things too. Mm-hmm. And I just think that is the bonding piece that we need. Mm-hmm. And so I want to, encourage men that are watching the show or women that are watching the show to be that space so that we can, feel comfortable telling you that and not you telling us that, get over the mourning piece of it. They're gone. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and I can't stress the importance of having a group to talk to. I mean, in the almost 2 years that we've done this show, we've had just offline conversations about everything, from relationship to loss to divorce to everything else in between. But it's helped us all in certain ways and helped us when we needed it. And sometimes it's about listening. Yeah. Sometimes you don't have advice for people.
Yeah,
you just can listen, and sometimes that's all they need. And that's
we were asked, and I'm not asking anybody to be this transparent, but we were asked if any of us were willing to share whether or not we had ever considered something that drastic. And I can say this without apology: I've never considered it, but I have reached a low enough point where I looked around and felt like this must be the start of what that feels like. Like if I couldn't tap into a few things that were able to keep me going in that moment, like I felt like, okay, if I got to this space and I didn't have the niece and nephew that I try to live for, if I didn't have, this thing or that thing, then this might be a space where I could actually turn that corner. And it was scary to be able to even think that, to be able to fathom it. Like, this must be what this feels like, or this must be one of the ways in which it presents. And you go, okay, I don't have any more to give. I don't, you know what I'm saying? You don't believe there's anything ahead for you. I once heard somebody say that knowing that, just believing that there is one person, at least one living person that loves you, is usually enough to keep somebody from doing that. It's when they conclude that there is no one that loves them, when they look at their community or whatever, that they find it easier to make that decision.
Well, I think I said this in the last show, that I had been that person to consider suicide. And being successful, a successful executive, and making great money and everything. In what I thought was a great love life in all of that. But as I walked across, the Wacker Bridge, I thought about, let's just do this. Now I'm in a much better space today. I'm divorced. But I'm in a much better space.
That was funny, Khalid. Look, I don't think that came off the way he meant it, but
and I'm kind of being comical about it, but really, because I'm past that piece of it. So, but not having you mentioned, Sean, having one person that loved you. I probably had several at that time, but it was just my mental state.
Right.
Didn't allow me to see, that those people would, including my family, would feel some kind of way if I wasn't here. And really my kids. So let's just say that, my kids.
Because I have such a horrible memory, I want to jump in here right quick, because you gave me two questions. One is for you, one is for Khalid. For you, and you don't have to answer this, I'm just going out on a limb and asking you this. Khalid gave the stats on most of the calls he got being around the wife of the married man. When you got to that space, was your wife at that time a big contributor to you feeling like that was possibly something that you wanted to do? That's question one. Then I have a question for Khalid afterwards.
So at the time, I was struggling in keeping my marriage together and couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. I won't say that she was the contributor to it, because as Khalid said, it's two people. So I won't say that was it, Sean.
Well, if you had called Khalid, would you have been talking about
her? I would have probably tried to figure out, why am I feeling this way? That is really it, because I would have to take responsibility for me. And I've been through therapy, and I've been with many therapists, and it really is never, at least in my experience, about the other person. It is about, this person right here, and that's what they're trying to get me to see. So that's the point. So I don't want to dog somebody else out because I married the person, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Khalid, my question for you is this. I'm a big fan of a show called A Million Little Things.
Yeah.
And in that
Me too.
Yeah, and in that show, there's one African-American couple, Rome and his wife. And Rome in that show is battling off and on. He's battling mental illness. As a matter of fact, the show surrounds the suicide of their groups, their best friend. And on that same day, Rome was actually going to kill himself. And the only reason that he didn't was because he got the call that this friend had killed himself. And so my question to you is every, and this is probably just your opinion more than a medical, diagnosis, but is every suicide or suicide attempt, in your opinion, connected to a mental health issue? Do you think that if you're capable of considering that or taking that option, is there mental health issues involved?
Right. So now let me take a good moment to explain about suicide and what leads up to it, okay? Because we have a lot of theories going on from what I call civilians. So now let's hear from the people who do this every day, okay? So let's look at Chelsea Chris, right? So folks are like, how could she want to commit suicide? She was drop dead beautiful. She was an attorney, had an MBA, physically fit. The first African-American woman who was the oldest at 28 to win Miss USA, right? So what happens was this. No one knew other than her family and close associates that she was dealing with depression, right? And her depression came from the unsurmountable pressure she put on herself to be perfect, right? So somebody like me sees this. I have a beautiful daughter who looks like she could be her sister, right? And I sit my daughter down because my daughter's getting ready to go to medical school. And I said, Anaya, the minute you think it is okay to think about taking your life, I need you to quit college, come home, and I need you to weave baskets. Because I'd rather have you here weaving baskets than to jump off a building, right? So what happens is we think we see the prototype of what suicide people look like. And it's anyone, attractive people, unattractive people, rich people, poor people. There is no prototype. There is no prototype. Second of all, the majority of people get to such despair in their life where they feel like, even though I have 20 million people who love me and praise me, I'm going through this journey by myself. And just like you said earlier, the stronger, more famous, more prosperous I appear to people, the harder for me to call people.
It's got to be exhausting, Khalid.
It is.
So when I see Tyrese and Kanye and those guys, I feel like part of it is the weight of the celebrity that they're carrying and the weight of trying to be what people want them to be. And that's,
correct. Correct. And correct. So let me add this point too, is that, everyone says, well, what could I have done? Let me tell you what the real answer is. Nothing. Nothing. My mentee who killed himself drank a bottle of antifreeze. He would always call me when he got to his dark place. This time he did not want to call anyone. He drank it. When they found him, he was sick, throwing up. They said, let me call the ambulance. He said, no, do not call the ambulance. He wanted to die. When you get to the point where you got the gun at your temple or you're on the ledge, you have made up your mind. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I will not deal with this anymore. Because if you didn't, you would take a bottle of pills and then you would get on Facebook like, I just took a bottle of pills.
Come save me.
I want somebody to come and rescue.
Yeah.
So when she jumped, she wanted her life to end. So it was nothing anyone could have. They could have saved her in that moment, but she would have tried to kill herself the next week.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes. And like just what Robert just said, it's on you.
Yeah.
It's on you. There are contributing factors,
right? But
at the end of the day, it's on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey man, that has been awesome, and I can't explain how valued your experience with it is, and how vital it is for this conversation. And I think as much as we try to avoid circling back to topics that we've discussed, I think this is one of those that we have to commit to circling back to, because it can look so different
Right.
You know, it always comes. I think a lot of people maybe thought until recently, because he had some emotional turmoil, they thought Michael Kenneth Williams killed himself. And only lately have we realized this week that he was given heroin laced with fentanyl, and he was looking to get high. He wasn't looking to kill himself.
Right.
So now, and that's what I mean, Khalid, when we hear a celebrity has made that move, it's a lot easier for us to think that's probably what happened, because we know they're carrying the weight of this and that. And he was just, he had been honest about his drug abuse and drug addiction, and he was just trying to get high. He wasn't trying to leave here. But ultimately, that's what happened, man. So again, let's commit to circling back, because we've talked about it in the framework of men, because this is the cave. But this is something that we should talk about in terms of our sisters, in terms of children, in terms of the community of people of color at large. Is something that we need to always have, you know, ready to talk about and hash out and learn, because there may come a time when, you know, we can be instrumental in somebody's struggle with it. And like you said, we might not be able to stop it, but we might be the conversation that helps them get to a place where they can stop it themselves. And we need to prepare ourselves for that. Hey, man, it's Black History Month. What do y'all feel about that, man? Some people, man, are real bitter about the whole idea, you know, that we get this month. You know, every day of the year is Black History Month for most of us, because we're not trying to condense our contribution to the shortest month of the year. But do you feel any particular way, man, when Black History Month hits? Is it one of those things that you don't want any participation in? How does it make you feel? Mel, you've been quiet because you being Chef Mel tonight, but talk to me about your thoughts on Black History Month.
That ain't why I've been quiet. I just been enjoying the conversation. I cook and talk. I could walk and chew bubble gum.
Well, I didn't say that.
Can you blow some bubbles too?
I didn't give a reason.
As far as Black History Month is concerned, and I've seen both schools of thought. Matter of fact, I saw a video with Morgan Freeman not too long ago.
Yeah, that was awesome.
He was talking about, he doesn't. You know, he's like, when is White History Month? Y'all don't, you know, it's White History all, whatever. For me, I think the awareness of it and what it's done for me. Prime example, I have a young lady that I went to college with who, you know, grew up in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood, school, and all of this other stuff. And she said they never learned about Black history. So it was an opportunity for her to hear more about people who she saw but didn't necessarily understand. One of the things that I do every single day during Black History Month is I post a Black history figure other than King, X, Garvey, Sojourner Truth, you know, Harriet Tubman, Madam C.J. Walker, you know what I'm saying? The usual suspects. And not that their accomplishments weren't amazing, because they were, but I'm always posting something from somebody that you don't know, right? And so for the past 3 days, I've done that. One of the guys from Black Wall Street, I posted. Another engineer, I posted, and it was somebody else. I forget who the third person was. I posted, but you know, it's a learning experience for me too, because I'm looking for people that I don't know about, that I haven't learned about. So I've always heard about Black Wall Street and know some people, but I didn't know about O.W. Gurley until I saw the Wall Street Trapper on Instagram talk about him. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this guy. Let me look him up. Some interesting stuff. He would have been the Black version of J.W. Marriott, right? With his hotels and stuff like. Matter of fact, one of the hotels he built in Mississippi is still there. So it's just a matter of, for me, making sure that I don't play into the, you know, if I feel good about Black history and I feel good about Black History Month, I'm not going to let somebody say, well, it should be Black history all year long. Well, it is and can be, and I don't mind the recognition of it right now. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Glenn, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there are certain parts of it that are important. I just got asked to be on a panel for Visa while they pick top Black startups to actually give money to and support. So I think that's important to do. And it happens to fall on Black History Month that they're doing it, but the inclusion group works year round to do that. So I'm really happy that they're doing it year round, and they just happen to pick this month to pick the winners, and I get to be a part of that. So that I'm proud of. I think we've turned it into Christmas a little bit, though. We drop a few gifts of Martin Luther King speeches, and we give you a few lines on Harriet Tubman. Just recently we've turned Malcolm X into Santa Claus a little bit, so now we can talk about him and we forget how real he was. So that's my problem with it. Like Mel said, we make history every day. African Americans make. We're part of American history. We're part of world history, actually. And I think we need to be recognized more for that than for the month of February. And there was an article today I read where somebody was like, just abolish Black History Month. We do this all day, every day. And let's recognize that we do it all day, every day.
Yeah. Before you jump in here, I do have an issue with the way corporations will jump on board and celebrate it, for that stretch of time, and then the other 11 months, you're doing underhanded stuff, and you have practices that don't really involve equal representation and all that. But come February, you want to have soul food in the cafeteria, and you want to do all this other stuff. But in terms of approaching it from a systemic standpoint, you're not really doing that. There's nobody being promoted to upper management, you know what I'm saying, that kind of thing. So that part of it, rubs me a bit. But Robert,
I don't really have anything, but Tom Joyner used to do a thing, little known black history.
Makers,
yeah, and he would do that, and we would go back or at least when he would talk about it a lot. Little known Black history fact was his thing that he talked about it on the radio all the time, and it was just a segment. And man, I would sit there and listen as I'm driving or whatever, and I'd be like, wow, I did not know that. So, and he'd do it every day. It wasn't just during February. So the point is to get in touch with, as Mel said and Glenn, there are other African Americans that are doing amazing, or who have done amazing things. Let's just celebrate them. And as everyone's already said, it's not just one month. I'm Black every day. I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud. Okay. So, but that's the point I want to make.
Khalid, what did you have to say about it before we move on?
Yes. If you go on my Facebook page every day, I'm featuring the beauty of us every day. Every Sunday, I've been doing this for the last 8 years. I do a Sister of the Week. So to showcase a beautiful Black woman, because I've never seen no man, no brother on Facebook do that, where you just showcase Black women, So every day, again, is Black History Month. And then for Black History Month, I do Khalid's 28 Days of Blackness, where I do a whole bio pictorial of a famous Black person, right? Because I want to emphasize how powerful we are. I have a client right now, 16 years old. He's interracial, Black and white. He lives with his white mother. When I asked him about, because he's a junior, I said, well, what college are you thinking about going to? Like Morehouse? He said, what's Morehouse? And he lives in a north suburb. I said, you don't know who Spelman is? I said, where's the Apollo Theater? I don't know. Who is Shaka Khan? I've never heard of her before. Who is Luther Vandross? I don't know. So for the month of November, when we meet for our sessions, we're going to go over Black history, because what happens is, because his Black father is not part of his life, he shut down his whole Black side. But now, since he has an African-American therapist, now he's open. So you know what? However we got to get the message out there, let's do it. Because even schools are not doing what they used to. When we were
never have.
We had a whole month. Now I ask my kids, they do one assembly, and that's it. So however we got to get the message out, let's do it.
I agree. Hey man, we got about 9 minutes left.
Wow.
Yeah, it goes fast. But part of that is the spirited conversation, Khalid. That's just how it goes. I know next week is our Valentine's Day show. I don't know if the powers that be have decided that they want an agenda or a format for next week's show. But I think
I got to wear this shirt again.
Yeah, all relationships all night. I think that's what we're doing.
All relationship all night. I like that. So Robert actually sent me something earlier today that I thought was pretty interesting. Not necessarily from the standpoint that probably he sent it. It was a young lady who was talking about. No, that wasn't a shot, man. It was. I took something different from it. You know what I'm saying?
It should have been. If it wasn't a shot, it would have been a good one. You should take credit for that one.
So it was a lady. It was a lady who she was getting ready to go on a first date. She had talked to the guy. They'd had a couple of days of conversation, and she had gleaned a couple of things about him in those days of conversing, and so she wanted to make a first impression. And she knew he was a cigar smoker. Her dad was a cigar smoker. She went by her parents' house, had her dad pick a cigar for her. Her mom wrapped it for her in this cute little kind of thing with stitching and paper. And it was so impressive. She was a cutie. I have to,
She was
fly, right? And but I thought to myself, when is the last time that you heard a woman talking about making a first impression on a date? It's steaming too. It's the culture of it is so much that we are auditioning for their time and their space and their approval. And that's what I was saying, Khalid, that I gleaned something different from it. I was just in awe of the fact that this woman would be more concerned with how he received her than making him feel like, okay, show me what you bring to the table and why you're worth my time, which right or wrong, bad or good, get mad or not, is the primary culture of dating as I have understood it in my over 50 years. So I thought that was interesting, man. And I champion that sister for being what I describe as somebody who's trying to meet somebody in the middle.
Yeah.
The traditional man is going to pursue you. He's going to take those opportunities for that onus, and take the lead. But I think it's so dope when you remove it from being an audition by him, and it becomes a mutual dance between the two of you. Come on, Mel.
You got to think about whose tradition, though, right? You got to think about whose tradition is it, because what has happened over the years is we've grown accustomed to what has become American traditions, European traditions, stuff like that. We didn't used to do that. They had to present their daughters and people that wanted to be wives had to present themselves and show that they were just as worthy of being a wife as we were of being a husband, a provider, a protector. So when I came with my 4 bulls, 3 cows, 17 chickens, and an antelope to get to your daddy as my dowry, right? I knew what I was getting as well in the form of a daughter, how she was raised, how she would conduct herself as a wife, as a mother, so forth and so on. And I get it. I mean, now, there's.
I was going to say, but you have to admit that that's not what we see day to day.
I know, but I'm saying, as far as tradition, right? Tradition is whatever tradition is until you change the tradition. I guess that's my ultimate point.
So do you think that, and Lord, y'all trying to get me in trouble. I done went the whole show and not got in trouble. Do you think that women, as we understand it, would be open to a more meet in the middle concept when it comes to dating?
Are you kidding me? That's going to be a relationship topic, because but the point was, behind that, Sean, is that the woman made sure that she listened to she listened to what was important to him, and she brought about a small token of what was important for him. Mm-hmm. And so if we, Mel talked about tradition. If we can just, take a break and say, hey, you know what? I know that Sean likes hats. Maybe I'm not going to, as a woman, I'm not going to necessarily give you a hat, but maybe I'll give you something smaller or something just to say, I know a woman gave a guy a mailbox, a small little mailbox, a blue mailbox, because he talked about it and it was really important. That just meant she listened and gave it to him, right?
Man, I've given a woman, I've just been out moving around shopping and giving a woman a box of Milk Duds.
Yeah.
I heard her mention that as a candy that she loves and can't seem to find, easily. And I'm walking through the store and I see a box of Milk Duds and I grab them. I don't think, the size of the gift really doesn't matter. It's people want to know
it's
that
the thought
of, and and something made them and a fond thought. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, years ago I bought somebody a stack of toilet tissue. It ended up being a year relationship.
Toilet tissue.
Because I listen, but Khalid, I just listen.
Boy, you'll go out your way not to buy a drink, won't you? You'll buy
right. He'll buy toilet paper, but he won't buy a drink because she needed to.
Real talk. We were just talking. I was running out. They couldn't leave at the time. They mentioned that they were going to stop at the store because they had to get toilet paper before they drove home. I was out. I grabbed toilet paper. When it was over with, I walked her out to the trunk of the car. Pop the trunk open. You ain't got to stop at the store.
I mean, I'm thoughtful. I bought
that's a good one.
Yeah, I bought my own velvet rope for Janet Jackson's concert one time.
I knew you were going to say Janet with Khalid on the call. I knew Janet was coming because of his beauty. Beauties of the week.
If she was going to tie me up, bring me on stage, I was going to help her by bringing my own rope and handcuffs and then just handcuff myself to the chair so she couldn't take me away. Like, oh, shit, I forgot.
Hey man, we got a little less than 2 minutes outside of Glenn.
That was for Khalid.
That was for Khalid. I knew it was coming. I was waiting.
We've had a war going on.
Y'all can fight to the death about Janet. She don't want either one of y'all anyway. But listen, I want to share something with y'all before we get out of here, man. We got about a minute and a half. And some of y'all may have seen this. It was another Morgan Freeman clip. And he was basically saying, and this is for us and everybody listening, when you ask the divine or whoever it is that you pray to, for peace, do you think he's going to give you peace or is he going to give you the opportunity to choose peace? When you ask him for, and I'm paraphrasing, for courage, he's going to give you the opportunity to be courageous. He's not going to magically make you courageous. He's going to give you the opportunity to be courageous. So everybody think about that. When you ask the divine, whoever you pray to, for a thing, don't look for the thing. Look for him to equip you to be that thing. And hey, man, we're out of time. It has been awesome, Khalid. Thank you so much. Don't leave. Meet us in the green room after the show. Everybody watching, thank you all. Don't forget to catch us next Thursday for the Valentine's Day. So Glenn is wearing a red leather suit. Mel will be somehow. I don't think he does it. He gonna make chocolates and the
make chocolates while
and the food just got done too. They're not even gonna get to see it. I'll post the picture.
And Robbie's gonna wear another shirt with batteries in it. Until that time, y'all. It's been the K. We see y'all next week.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.